I can go. Welcome to the January 28, 2025 meeting of the Village of Buchanan. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, but I would like, since we have so many of Buchanan Engine here, please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we have Trustee Bob Wheeler on Zoom. We have him?
Yes,
Are you there, Bob? Okay.
Yes, I am.
So workshop discussions. First on the agenda here is the update on the CREST grant. And I know last year we had put the CREST grant in for the painting of the pavilion. The state got back to us and said, after we've done it a couple of times, that we can't do it.
correct.
So I think the board needs to make a decision how that grant money will be used. It's 100,000, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And George
Yep.
had
George
some
can address it,
thoughts
yep.
on how to spend money?
So, in speaking with, good evening, Mayor, Board of
Good evening.
Trustees. In speaking with Marcus, he suggested that I get together with Scott and take a look at some of the catch basins that we need done on some of the roads. And we've identified Tate Church, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, Craft, Lake Street, as needing some catch basin and pipe repair. So, in talking to Marcus, maybe the grant funding could go to those, could go to that. But it's a grant, so these are repairs, and I'm not sure if the grant.
Yeah, so
covers the repairs.
just to make sure too, because of course they're changing the parameters because as the mayor said, the painting was allowed. Now they're saying it's not allowed. So for tonight's meeting, I did email Sarah at Harkham's office to see if the repairs to the catch basins will qualify. I haven't heard anything back. So I just try to feel it out. That's qualified, because I don't want to say it has to be new construction versus repairs. And the good thing about this aspect of it is meets federal and state standards with MS4. So it is to protect the Hudson River. So hopefully it qualifies. Of course, and the mayor and the board have any other suggestions or thoughts, we can always change it. I was just trying to get the ball rolling and try to communication with the state, so that way we won't lose the money. So at this point, I did ask her if that will qualify. That will include the pipes as well as the catch basins, to see if that qualifies. If I hear back, I'll let the board know, of course. But if there's a different ideas from the board, please let us know. I can send an email to the state.
You know what? We had at one time a list that went out of possible what the state would approve. If you could resend that to the board, and then maybe by next Tuesday's meeting, we can make a decision. And George, what was the estimate on if we did the estimate? I mean, you know.
We could find $100,000 worth
That
of
was-
pipe
yeah.
and catch
Okay, that was
basin
a good
repair.
question.
So,
Okay. All right. So yeah, if you could resend what the
Yep.
state had sent out to us originally, and then maybe, see, if there's any other thoughts from the board
Yep, no problem.
of what we can use that money for, that would be great. Okay, with us this evening is our engineer, George Palmer. And George, this wastewater plant. It's been a long road. It's
Yeah.
been challenging, but we're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. And one of the things I wanted to say, I know Marcus last month or last week, you had asked something about, about the release of the funds,
Yes.
the energy funds, and I did say I would speak to the state, to speak to Tom Cogden, not Tom Cogden, it's Tom Kasmerick that's mostly dealing with this now. Tom Kasmerick is the executive director at the Decommissioning Oversight Board, and they're working on this funding for us. And what he said is, I know you were concerned that it would take too long to turn around, but he said the draw on the funding by submitting a complete and accurate bill. So when those bills are submitted, we really have to dot our i's and cross our
Correct.
t's to make sure it's a complete document. And they said the turnaround could be as much as 7 days, which is quite amazing. So, so the funding is in place. And so next steps, George?
Sure. Some news we got today. The consent order is cleared. So the 5 years is up. They sent an email this afternoon saying we're done and complete. So we sent that last email that we sent with the 5-year, the summary and everything.
Right.
It was adequate for them to release it. They don't send a letter. They just sent that email. So that was a bit of good news today. We did apply for the grant. We got a whole list of funding. You see it, the 2021, 2024 came up to $6 million. And then the town committed the balance of the money for the Entergy money. So we come up to $11 million. And the state also asked us to break things up into phases. So we have a phase 1, a phase 2, and with the grant writer that we had this go around, we added the Albany Post Road, we added the sewer main, just to give us more, raise our amount so that when we get the grant, we can revise our scope if we want to. So the first two numbers, they add up to 10 million. And if you, a little over 10 million, about 11 and change. If we took out the Albany Post Road and we took out the sewer main, we'd be pretty close to the $11 million. And I want to point out too, that in those estimates for 6.45, there's also a contingency of $1 million in that one. And then the 4.8, there's a contingency in that one as well of around 800,000. So, if we took those two out and we have our contingency, moving forward with the plant is pretty feasible. So we have to wait for bids to come in and whatnot. So that's pretty set in stone, I would think. And the Albany Post Road pump station, the sewer lines, we could defer them to another year because it's a 5-year grant. So you could build the plant this year, work on the plant, at least get it started. And then in 2026, that's the year, right? Next year, 2026, you could see what money you got left, see where you're at financially.
Mhm.
And then there's smaller projects, the Albany Post Road and the sewer main, and do those. And you'd still be
So just tie them in at a later date.
correct.
George, I'm sorry, did you give us a number on the Albany Post Road? The
Uh,
cost for that?
851, we
$851.
put that in there. So we built it, and there's contingencies in those two numbers. So you have a lot of, and they want you to do that when you submit the grants because they don't want you to be a precise number, because things change. And, a
Right.
year later, escalations, things come up. So that's built in there. So I think you have enough cushion to move the plant work forward.
Have we gone out to bid yet?
No, we haven't gone out to bid. So part of the process,
George, do you want to, from the decommissioning oversight board meeting, I just found this before. This is what you had done, the settlement, the improvements, the tentative sequence. So you can, if you want to. Sure. So everyone sees, where we are. I'm sorry. I thought I'd get here early to get copies, but I got here a little late.
so we have a preliminary design. We submitted it to the Department of Health. They put it on hold because of the funding to
Right.
find out where we were funding and if our scope was going to change or our plan was going to change. So we can, if we said tonight, okay, let's move forward with the plant, we go back to them and say, well, there's one aspect of it that was not to change out the concrete, that was to coat the inside of the tank. So this is to change out the whole entire tank now. So we make that one change to it, we resubmit it to them, then they would comment back on it. Hopefully they get back to us in a timely manner. And then we have the NY2A requirements, which is to increase the size from 0.5 MGD to 0.75 MGD.
Mhm.
That gives us a little extra capacity for when we develop Entergy.
So just, so people that haven't been involved in this. So right now the plant is licensed to do 500,000 gallons per day.
Correct.
And what the application is to go up to 750,000 gallons a day. And I think, you had mentioned before with the new technology,
We
that
could do
should help with that.
We could do that. And so they want some licensing, that's a DEC requirement. And they have some things that we have to give to them to complete that process. And then we, again, I mentioned the submitting to the Department of Health and the DEC for the NY2A. And then we prepare bid documents, and then we go out to bid and move through our process and rebuild the plant. So,
Right.
so
That's good news.
And that's without expansion.
that's correct. That's, so the expansion, the only expansion we would have, so that it has a current footprint now, we'd be building a tank around it, because we have to keep the tank up and running. While this whole process goes on, we can't turn it off and turn it back on. We have to keep everything going. So we have to do half of it at one time. That's why you see the phase one is to do either the left or the right half. And then phase two is to do the balance. So you have to do, you can't do just one phase. You have to
Right.
do both. So,
Right.
So yes, we can move forward.
That's great. It's a long time coming. But all the stars lined up, so finally we can get that moving forward. So that's a big win for the village.
So what's our next step?
So, you said tonight, move forward with the plant. We continue with our design. We upgrade to the 0.75. We finish the process for the NY2A permit from the DEC, and we submit to the health department. We basically tell me, continue the process on the plant. And that's what we will do.
George, the cost of the plant, so the expansion tank, right? So is it more cost effective? This is just a shot from the
Sure.
hip here. Cost effective to maybe build a new tank instead of building around the old tank
So it will be a new tank.
and divert
Go
to the
ahead.
new tank and then construct the old tank? You follow what I'm saying?
The real estate. So you need,
That's
if you
real
built
estate,
a
yeah.
if you built one next to it, you made it at 0.75, and then you took apart the other one and built the other one next to
Mhm.
it. That would cost more. That's the only downside of that.
That's what I just want to know. Is it cost effective? Because building around something sometimes just gets pretty pricey.
It can be, but you're using the old tank as part of your shoring system. So that's the outside of it.
Yeah.
And then you're just putting shoring around that,
Mhm.
and you got to keep it running. So,
Mm.
but we can look into that. And it's a real estate issue. Yeah, we have to move some things around.
Well, plus you have all the equipment involved as well. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yes. I mean, we did consider it at one time, and the other part of this is that if we put a tank somewhere, we don't know if we're gonna hit rock. If we put the
Mhm.
tank right where it is now,
Mhm.
the amount of rock is minimal.
There's gonna be rock over there.
There is gonna be some rock. The only issue the depth wouldn't change, the length would get a little bigger. And when we go around it, so, hopefully when they put this in, they didn't take out too much, but who knows?
Yeah, that was
So-
like 1962.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so-
well, in the bid,
Yeah.
there's gonna be an item for rock anyway.
Yes.
There's gonna be an item, so we're gonna pay for it one way or the other.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Got a rock here in the village.
Mhm.
Yeah. I just want to mention, going back to the money, I looked at I read the agreement again. So the settlement fund was originally $7 million, and it went down to 6.75 because
Gave the grant to local 21.
plumbers and steam fitters are trainings for semiconductor microchip manufacturing, and this is on McKinley Street in Peekskill. So they ended up getting 250,000, which brought us down to 6.75. But reading the agreement again, it does say plus interest up to the 7 million. So I would have to ask them where that interest is at that point. But in the agreement, it does say plus interest. So we might have a little bit more there too.
Well, yeah, interest on millions adds up, so.
Yeah, on 6.75. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So we might be back at 7. All right, that's good. Thank you, George.
Yep.
Okay, so board wants to move forward. I think we got the money. I think we should do it.
I
It's been a
think-
long time coming.
Yeah.
I think, George, you
Rock on, George.
keep the ball rolling because now we're getting into your end and
I mean, this
You know,
started well before, I was on the board, so I mean,
It's been years.
this has been going on and
this has
it's,
been going on a long time.
yeah, it's needed. Let's just move forward.
I will tell you, it started in 2010. And we were looking at going to the new technology, and the board members and I spoke to many different contractors on what the new technology looked like, find bubble fusion, blah, blah, blah. We got our education on that. And then when the closure announcement was made and we found out that there was community money, then we went right after that for the sewer treatment plant. So, and finally, like I said, the stars all lined up where that money is being able to be released now. We've gotten the grant money. And going back to the grant money, what I'd like to say too is, so the closure announcement was 2017. The settlement agreement, I believe, was 2021 with Entergy. So that's how we knew we had the 7 million. But there was a WQIP grant for $1.62 million. That was in 2021. I think if we do anything, I think we need to go after to use that money first. Because I believe it's a 5-year
Five-year
span.
window.
So yeah, so we need to, if we do anything, we need to go after that first. I have spoken to the supervisor. He is in agreement for the town to give us that whole amount of money. And we are going to be, Stephanie, we're going to be working on an agreement to legalize that, to formalize that.
That's good.
Yeah, because it's word of mouth
Yeah.
is, you know, maybe years ago you could shake hands and say, yeah, it's okay, but we live in a different world. So I had a conversation with him. He's in full agreement and he just wants us to send the agreement to him and we can get that moving along.
Teresa, if I may, it's a
Yeah.
good point, but when we discussed with the state, when we applied for any reimbursement,
Mhm.
the town has to approve to that as well.
Okay.
Maybe, hopefully, maybe your communication with them, we get a blanket agreement, then we have to wait for the town to approve everything, or invoice that we put out.
Mhm.
And then that will streamline the process as well, if that can happen.
And you know what I'd like to do too with that agreement with the supervisor is yeah, I did read that because I was like, well, that's another thing that could slow us down, especially if it has to get board approval.
Yep.
But we really need to yeah, we'll work that out. And I've also asked the state for, because you know they're going to have a discussion on this agreement. They're going to put their input. So I've asked them ahead of time, please, what would you like to see in this agreement? Because remember, Stephanie, there's a couple agreements that went back and forth, back. So
Yeah, I remember.
what is it that you would like to see in the agreement so that we can get this
Mhm.
moving quicker? And then we'll have a new sewer treatment plant. All right, good. Long time coming, but it's going to be worth the wait. It's going to be the most beautiful sewer treatment plant in Westchester County. Okay, thank you, George.
Thanks,
You're
George.
welcome.
And what else you got for us? I think you had something else. We're doing
Paving.
paving. Yes, yes. I'm glad to see this starting in January. So hopefully we're not October. It seems every year, like with the contractors too, they kind of push us to the edge and then we get into a situation with the weather and the roads and yeah. So what do you got for us, George?
So, I sent out an email. Marcus made it part of the attachments tonight. We have $300,000,
Okay,
I guess, in the budget. We set aside a certain amount. Last year, we set aside 18,000 for, crack sealing. We do that pretty much every year.
isn't the 18,000, is that the AIM money? Is that,
No, I think,
that number sounds so familiar, 18,000.
I think that
Sounds
was just set aside in the budget.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Scotty and I got together. We looked at some of the streets, and we listed them, Church Street, northbound Broadway, 4th Street, 3rd Street, 2nd Street, Craft Lane. And you'd mentioned, Mayor, that the patch on 2nd Street is a Con Ed issue. It's not really our issue. It's been kind of lingering
Yeah.
we pointed it out to them a couple times. Marcus mentioned it to them again. It's on their rehabilitation
Correct.
staff agenda. So we don't know if it's going to get done. So we kind of inherit these things. I drove down it tonight. It's a little bump.
I won't buy it.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
It's getting worse.
Yeah.
Was
And,
that a service or?
It's a
was
gas
it-
service.
Yep.
Gas service? When was that done?
To 160. It was done 2023.
Yeah,
I was
it
gonna
goes right
say
up
about
summer.
2 years
It
ago.
goes right across the entire
Yeah.
street, yeah.
So they did a big square, probably a 10 by 10 square over the main. Then they have this 1.5 foot wide trench
Mhm.
all the way across the street. It's annoying. And Scott, the highway superintendent, did some patching of it recently, and we seem to start to own these things. So we've just put it in there. It's probably not gonna be a lot of money, but
Yeah, well, we
Hopefully.
should, taxpayer dollars shouldn't pay for that. You know,
Right,
these people
so-
come in, rip up our roads.
you know,
They
That-
should, finish it up.
And I'll put them on notice again. If something happens, it's their patch and their problem.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
dealing with, it's like a whole Verizon issue, just like with the telephone
Yeah.
poles. It's like, you
Without priority.
you gotta just constantly chase them.
yes.
Be a nudge.
And then, we did get some costs together for the other streets. Church Street was around 100,000.
Okay.
Broadway was around 300,000, 320.
Mhm. Okay.
Craft, we had it about 104. So you can see we're over the
Yeah.
amount. So
Okay.
what we've done in past years is we carried over to another year and we built up that fund and, you know, driving these roads tonight, they didn't seem that bad to me to carry over to another year.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I know you're having some discussions with Certainteed about
Broadway.
Broadway, so that's
I-
part of the part of the roads that we're looking at.
I
So
think church should really be looked at because we have that nursery school and that road is not in good shape.
so
You know,
no,
we have a
it's
lot of
not.
people dropping kids off and it gets to be a busy road a couple times a day.
So that we had that one listed first. That was the $100,000 one. You know, the lower the cost, the lower the amount. It's not a lot of incentive for contractors to bid it, so you might
Yep.
get one or two contractors. You might not get the bang for your buck, but
Right?
And you're gonna get caught at the end of the season.
and you
Yep,
get
they're
caught
gonna
at the
push
end.
us
of
down
the-
the road.
That's
And
correct.
yeah, that's right.
So the suggestion we were talking about, if the board is okay to hold off, then we'll have $600,000. Well, depending on the budget, we put a little bit more money into it and then actually get more interest and more prices and maybe better prices and we become more a priority to the contractor. So George and I was talking about to see how the board feels about it.
So do no road work this year and double up next year? What's
That's
the
it.
board's thought?
Might not be,
Although I know Intercounty paving, did it, and I was pleased with the work.
Yeah, they did.
They did a great job.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, a company like that will jump on it, no matter what the price is, because they eat up the work.
Yeah, they love to pave.
Yeah, so I mean, it may not hurt if there's roads that are priorities and I think we get them done, I mean, amongst all of us, I think we need to see, but I think that a company like Intercounty will jump all over it. And, then there's a lot of them out there that'll do
Yeah, the quality of the work was good.
it. It was.
They did a
yeah,
great job.
compared to
on
the
parking lot.
contractor before that, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the 300,000 budget, what can you do?
So if we did,
Mhm.
so Church Street, Broadway, Church,
Broadway will be
and Craft.
300,000, you can't do Broadway.
you're up to
Yeah,
$500,000
you
right there.
Eliminate Broadway.
Yeah.
Eliminate
We're
Broadway.
working on that.
Yep.
So if we did Church, which we know we need,
And that's the side by the church that goes to Henry.
that's the one that, yeah, goes up the hill. Yeah,
Yeah.
between Tate and.
Yeah,
and
it is
Henry.
pretty
Yeah.
bad.
Right in front of the village hall, yeah.
That's 100 and Craft Lane's 100 and Third Street's 100. So you'd have your 300 right there if you wanted to put those three out to bid.
I believe it's our duty to have annual highway improvement.
And if we
Mhm.
get we get the money, if not the CHIPS money, the grant money for the catch basins.
Yeah.
Comes into play. The catch basins that we're doing are on those streets. Some of them are.
Right.
So that'll lower that cost a little bit.
Okay.
So if we get that grant, so.
And the good news, we looked at
And that makes even more sense, honestly.
and we looked at the water valves, they're in good shape, so there's no additional cost for the water valves, right? George?
Right,
We're good on
right.
everything
We're
else.
good on the water and we're gonna, we repair the manholes when we do them, when we come through.
Mhm.
And we reached out to Con Ed to make sure there's no
Planned
gas
work.
or electric planned work. So hopefully they come back to us and they say, we have nothing planned on that.
Well, that's today, that's
Right.
today.
Okay,
And
we're
then,
see tomorrow.
then that little truck comes out
Yep.
with the little sniffers on the bottom and then they're like, oops, you got a gas
Emergency.
leak.
Yeah, emergency.
Yeah, how many times has that happened? It's like, oh,
Even,
What you could do is reach out to them, tell them what type of main is buried. and then let them tell you if it's cast, and then you say, well, now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna transition, you know, we want a prepaid schedule,
Right.
you know, because they will do it whenever they want, you know that. And it's on their schedule, but their schedule is long-term.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mayor Bob has hand raised. Bob, do you want to say something?
I'm sorry, Bob.
Yes, I do. I'm talking about Church Street. Do you think it would be wise to do curbs now? There's no curbs on Church Street there. I'm a big proponent of curbs.
Talk about curbs.
So
We-
how much is that?
We could do that. We could add that into the.
You'll be over
to the
budget
estimate.
then.
Yeah, we'll be slightly over the budget.
I know we'll be over it, but I think it's a big plus if we can curb our roads as we do them.
Well, part of the problem over there is I think people park part on the road and part on the grass, and that kind of starts to eat away at the sides of the road. And you're
Yes.
probably going to get pushback.
Yes.
Just be aware.
Well, most people get pushback when they first hear about putting curbs on the roads, but once they get the curbs, they're very happy with them. It's easy to maintain them. It helps the roads last a little bit longer, Mike, right, George?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, Bob, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just putting it out there. I'm fine one way or the other.
Yeah, we do run into that issue when people park on the street, who someone's gonna be half on the curb, half on the street, and half on their driveway. It happens. So,
But it's a beautification aspect, and it also
Yes.
contributes to saving tax dollars.
yes,
Correct. Because it
Yes.
keeps it just sustains the roads.
absolutely. So
Yep.
if you take the pushback,
If we want to put curbs, we'll put curbs. I
but
mean, it benefits the village.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think it's worth seeing what it costs to see whether to do it or not.
Sure.
The cost
Okay.
is- One side I know you won't be able to, because remember on one side there's a big stone wall
yes,
on the, quite a,
Plus
quite a
there's
bit of it.
like a drainage
a
sort of.
swale.
yes, on the other side.
Yeah.
There's a sort of paved swale that goes down to.
Yeah.
It's very shallow and it's there for a reason.
Yep.
So yes, there's drainage, there's wall issues, there's encumbrances on the road that need to be dealt with.
Yep.
To put the curbs in, but we'll look at it. We'll come up with that cost.
Yeah. See what it doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt.
And speaking of curbs, on Gallagher Street, those two curbs that were a problem, that were cracked last year, they're not doing too well this winter.
So-
So in the spring, if you can,
With the contractor that we had all the
Yeah.
issues with.
Yeah.
They just-
yeah, so
So we said we'd take a wait and see approach. We get through the winter. They're still under the maintenance bond. They still have money. So we still hold money on them.
Do we have a retainer on that contract?
Oh, yeah.
We do.
We didn't get the maintenance bond, but we're holding $30,000 worth of retainage on them. So it'll definitely cover a replacement of the curb if it is an issue. So
two curbs.
we had a pretty good frost this year, so we're gonna find out how things held up. So,
Okay, good. Yeah, just keep that on your radar.
sure.
Okay, so that's roads. George, you are the star here this evening, replacing a wastewater line on Route 9. I know
So-
we got an email on that. so-
So, part of our, like we said, part of our grant was the sewer line. So if we're deferring that for a year, we do jet it. I think, Cook does it. He does it part of his services. I don't think it's at a cost to the village. So we do that every 2 months or 3 months. So for right now, doing that every 3 months, so it does, anywhere from 6 to 4 times a year. So 4 to 6 times a year. And, we should be all right till next year if we want to.
No, we're talking about the other line, the one on the, underneath the Carbone property.
The one under the Carbone property. Okay.
Our main that runs onto that property, correct.
Our main runs under the Carbone property. Marcus and I met with the property owner recently. If they do all the work on the site and something happened, my concern is that, you're building a parking lot on there, you have a pipe that's down there. All of a sudden, it might be fine the day we put it down there, but I'm sorry, by the time they put the parking lot and everything on top of it and the drainage across it and do all that kind of stuff, they come back and and it settles over time and we say, okay, now who's gonna pick it up? Whose fault is it? So this kind of short circuits that.
And the age and the condition of the pipe.
Yeah, the age, it's
Just understand
60
that.
years old. It was put in when the sewer treatment plant was.
This
put in.
is the one for Carbone's project.
Yeah,
No, it's
no,
we have a main that runs through their property.
right.
Okay.
It's not their line.
Is that,
They'll connect their lateral to our line.
right?
So is,
Main dead ends there, does not?
Yeah, but the
For
bus,
now.
the bus garage.
Go
is
to the bus
connected.
garage.
The bus garage is connected to it. Otherwise, it would be just them. And then we could deal with it in a different way, but
Mhm.
the bus garage is connected to it. So that makes it a public main. So the idea was, okay, the village bought the pipe and they did the installation, and if something happens to it, it's on them. And then there's no us coming back and digging it up and doing anything to fix it. So that was the thought. And with our conversation with Marcus and the property owner.
And George said the pipe is really rotting from the outside in.
It could be. So there's a high groundwater table over there. So it could be, it's a metal pipe, it's cast iron. So could be compromised from the outside in. Who knows? But the thing is, when you put all that weight on it, there's gonna be 4 more feet of fill on top of it, parking lot, you're gonna be traveling on it. If it sags, we don't want to be stuck with replacing it at a later date. So, for, I think 15,000, just to buy the material. Yeah, we have a $300,000 to fix the one on 9A. So this is kind of inexpensive compared to that when you're just giving them the material. So it's something to think about, so.
so where is it located? Is it located up closer to the 9A or is it further down?
It's further down, it's right through the middle of the parking lot.
Oh,
The
Okay.
village put their line right through the middle of that property.
So there was a
And-
gas
and-
station
and
there.
what- Do we have easements?
Yeah, it's an easement. It's an
Okay.
easement.
Yep.
It's a village easement to go through. So they had a gas station there
Yeah.
many moons ago.
Yeah.
On the
Yep.
corner.
Yeah.
So there was a building there. The sewer from that building went to the sewer line, and that was the one that was on there. And the church, there was actually.
And there was a
church.
church, the house.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Geis's
And-
house.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the bus depot.
and the bus
Yeah.
depot. So,
So
So
the
we'll,
idea was cost benefit analysis. We could save money not having to have a labor force, as with prevailing wage and everything. They could do labor work. They have their own contractor, George inspect it. We just buy the materials and we'll put it in the way George wants it, whichever he wants. And then we got a brand new pipe. And actually higher up the way we want to, easier access, and we can put it in a way where if we need to maintain it, it'll be through the middle of the parking lot, and then we have to just replace blacktop. So
Right.
that's what we're talking about.
right.
It's actually a good thing.
Fed from the bus garage?
No, it's pumped up from the
Yep.
bus garage.
So
up to-
that is also an issue, no?
During installation, they will have to address, bypass it while they're
Mm.
putting it in, yeah.
I mean, it's more, there's more to it, sewer than just buying material. But if he's gonna take on all that cost, all right then, because he is gonna have to do a bypass while he puts it in the main.
Yes. Well,
And there's no manholes on that run, or are you putting a manhole in?
no,
Oh, he is.
we're putting manholes in.
Mhm.
We're gonna put manholes on that run.
Okay, because, sorry, Ellen. I'm not on the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
Testing,
Sorry.
testing.
is it not on?
No, as long as there's clean outs,
Okay.
in case if there is a sag, we can locate it
Yep.
and evaluate what he has to repair, because he's taking on the maintenance, so.
And that's great, Anthony, but the problem is we don't have that many manholes, so it's a long run between the manholes right now, right? That,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're gonna put some manholes in there.
and
so-
they're very deep, so we
They're
can actually.
deep.
Well, obviously, that's gotta be a deep vein if it's brick coming up to grade on Route 9A.
Well, it's coming up about halfway up the slope, so
Okay,
it's gonna
and
be.
they
deep.
pump from the garage.
They pump from the garage halfway up Lake. It hits a manhole at Lake and it goes across the back of the lot at an angle down
Mhm.
towards the other property, or the other Carbone property, goes through the back of the residence
The
there.
Dunkin' Donuts.
And yeah, then behind the Dunkin' Donuts and,
Mall, yeah.
and it goes around the front of the next building and goes down 9A. So,
And the Board of Health, good with all this? You're
Yeah.
engineering it?
no, they're engineering, they're doing all the work. They're doing the engineering and they're doing the install. So that's a,
And George is reviewing and approving it, and then going to Department of Health.
so.
All right.
So they're taking on the burden of all that. So which is, I think it's a win for the village
So the cost to the village would be about 15,000 for the
15,000.
materials.
materials.
We're not paying for the manholes?
That's pipe and manholes.
Okay.
So if the town decides to hook in That's where they would hook in for
Nope,
the
separate line.
launch. Oh, so it'd be totally
Yeah,
separate.
that's the one up on 9A.
Okay.
Yeah, right across the street from the high school.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that's what I was talking about.
There's two
So,
separate lines.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, one goes across the property there, and so the hookup would be where our sign used to be, right on the corner of, right across from the church, but we used to have a Welcome to Buchanan sign there. And we are going to put that Welcome to Buchanan sign back up, but we had a conversation with Mr. Carbone to wait until he was finishing
Yeah.
his construction so that we can put that up, so there was no damage done.
So
That's
that,
Because there's a
water pit.
connection, right?
that's the
That's the
water.
Oh,
water
that's
pit.
the water pit.
So
Yeah.
on the
Oh.
opposite side of the road in the sidewalk, there's a manhole.
Correct.
And it goes down that side and it picks up everybody on that side.
Yeah, and that's all gravity fed, no
And that's
pumps.
all gravity.
Right, yeah, so that's good there. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you for the clarification. I thought the sewer line ran on the other side. Okay, that makes sense, by the church side. It
Yes,
runs down and
yeah.
then runs down Lindsay and just right in.
Yes, it runs right across the front of Gallon Measure and then it goes down in front of the condos and then keeps on going. Oh, yeah, and then goes down to Lindsay. Goes
Right,
down Lindsay.
right, yeah. Okay, good, all right,
It's a good private partnership that we can get something done and
Yeah.
much
Yes.
reduced cost.
okay. That sounds good.
Absolutely.
Anything else for us, George?
George, why don't you, I was gonna do my update since you have here. Why don't you update the board of some of the issues that we've had with ice? That way the board knows what happened to sewer treatment plant.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna do it, but since you're here,
Sure. At the sewage treatment plant, we have surface aerators. The surface aerators, we have one half of the tank off because it doesn't need to run. We don't have the flows. We got the flows down. So as they were off, we had a freeze, we have the freezing conditions. So one of our aerators got some ice on it. They lowered it and cracked one of the aerator fins. So they got to replace it. So they had a guy who actually installed them 10 years ago. He kept the spare parts when he took it apart, kept them over at the plant. So all you gotta do is lower it, put the parts on and it's up and running again. So they had some ice damage. on the
Okay.
others. So,
Geez, we've never had that problem, right?
um,
Or many years ago?
well, the freezing. So
Look at
usually,
how
we've
cold
had
it
more
was.
Yeah.
flow. In the past, we had more flow, so
Oh, that's true.
the water was able to move around
Right.
easier.
so,
The flow is so low, all the work we've been doing, so
so,
the flow is a lot less right now.
so we didn't need half of it. So now we're gonna change our procedure a little bit and run the aerators even though we're not in the cold weather so that we don't get that ice buildup. So,
Good to have spare parts, huh?
we have the spare parts. We just need a contractor.
We have I think
Good.
with three.
Three extra
We have
ones.
three extra, so that's good. Until we replace the plant, I think we got enough
Until the new
spare parts.
technology
Yes.
comes in. Okay, all right. And then with the new well, we'll be using it then with the fine bubble fusion.
Yep.
Mhm.
If the weather gets cold. All right, well, there we go. Thank you, George.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
You've been
George.
busy, busy, busy.
You're welcome.
Okay. Class dismissed.
You can take off,
You're
George.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
George.
Thanks.
Have a
Appreciate
good
it.
night, George.
No problem. Have a good
Thanks,
night.
George.
See you next time. And get working on those plans.
Okay.
All right, you too.
Hi, George.
Okay, next is update on public hearing regarding restricted parking.
Yeah, so just the police chief listed the streets. I think I sent the email to the board and Stephanie, we have to all to listen to the streets, including, I think Nick Zachary mentioned one, and then also we talked about Lake Street. So if there's any other intersection the board wants to do, Stephanie's working on the public hearing notice. So if there's any of the streets, also wanted to know if the board wants to get any notifications to the neighborhoods or want to do any kind of special notice or just Facebook, email blast, what we normally do. So.
Nobody looks at our email.
I know.
Nobody looks at
Well,
our newsletter.
Well, Can't we
so-
put something
website.
on the new sign?
Yeah, we can put a notice on the sign.
Right there.
Yeah, public hearing on restricted street parking. So if there's any additional streets, just let Stephanie and us know we're added, because we need to identify specific areas in order for the police to ticket when we get to that point.
And at the public hearing next week, I will take off my mayor hat and I will speak as a resident on one of the sections.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
So how are we going to, I mean, I know you're giving out areas. Well, why wouldn't we do the whole village? And make it just a village
Yeah,
code?
I wonder, can you do Every
I mean, if
single
it's a
intersection?
30%, if it's a 30-foot offset off each curb,
Yeah.
why,
Meant to ask
each
for it.
corner?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just install it in the whole village instead of certain, because it's gonna get confusing to the residents in some asset.
There'll be signs.
And well, they're gonna have to sign it, paint curb lines or whatever it is, but
Right.
I mean, it affects every corner. And it's only 30 feet.
Right.
So I mean, you know, I understand there's some,
Yeah.
I mean, then it applies to the whole village and you don't have to worry about, you know, who needs what street, and then next year somebody's complaining about another street and another street. It just, I think apply the whole village to it.
So you want no parking within 30 feet of all intersections?
Just corners, you know, just the corners, like 30 feet from the corner or back. I mean,
Every intersection.
yeah,
I thought it was originally 20 feet.
I forgot what, the number of the
22.
public hearing? What is
or
that?
then do 20 feet every.
I think it was, I forgot what the number
No, I
was.
think it's 30.
Was it 30? I
I
forgot.
don't know.
You gotta do a minimum of at least 20.
Yeah, 20.
I mean, if
Yeah,
you look
had
at,
said 30, so I might have gone on that, but so what? You'll make it 20.
Right,
We-
whatever
we'll
it is,
amend it
right.
Yeah,
at the public
Yeah,
hearing.
that's what I thought
Whatever
the
you wanna do.
original.
Can you make it
Um,
more restrictive?
I
at the
thought it was
public hearing,
22.
like
I
the
don't know.
you know, we're
can't
doing
put
this
it-
basically because emergency vehicles,
would be
emergency
less.
vehicles going every street.
Everything
So
like
it's
that.
like, what are we limited to some streets for?
But
No,
are you
makes
gonna have
sense.
signage
You're gonna have
now
to.
on all the corners?
You're gonna have to, or it can be a code that 20 foot on every corner in the village.
And how will the residents
Well, we're
know?
gonna have to sign it.
Yes, they want
Well, we're
30
gonna stripe
feet
it.
of
I think
Or
there
we
was
can stripe
striping
it.
or
at every
something.
intersection.
Yeah.
That has to be
But
figured
you
out.
notice
yeah.
that the certain number of days before the
Alright.
meeting, right?
I mean, it's gonna be a ton of signs anyway.
I know, but this is something new, so my
Mhm.
question was, how will we inform the residents?
The same way you would inform them if you did a couple of them streets.
Okay, but that's why I'm
Yeah.
asking, what are we going to do?
We're
Well,
gonna have
we
to
know
figure
we
that
do
out.
Facebook, email blast, whoever wants to email blast, we put on our website. That's what we know what to do, but we were just talking, go ahead.
Yeah, the difference might be here is when I'm amending a code,
Mhm,
I usually send that to you ahead of time and
Mhm.
publish that. So we're changing what the legal notice says right now, which is that whatever those intersections were.
Right.
So if you want to change that,
You have to renotice.
we'll have to renotice it. And the meeting's next week, so that would put off. the
Do you have
public
enough
hearing
time?
For another month.
No, we have to go another month.
Yeah.
Another month, okay.
Yeah.
If you want to extend it, if you want to.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my opinion. I wanna know what everybody else does as well.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I'll
No,
just
it's-
renotice it and
Mhm. And then my question is there going to be signage now on every corner instead of the ones that we've had spoken
Yeah,
about in
you
the
have,
past?
you still have to you have to put in order to enforce it, you will
Yes.
have to put a notice or a sign at every single intersection.
a sign or markings.
Yeah.
Markings,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I
It's
thought we were gonna, I
probably-
thought we decided, we had a discussion about the markings.
I believe, the chief isn't here, I gotta ask the police chief, I think this DOT requires
You
signage.
have to go by DOT stuff.
Yeah, the signage, you have to do the signage.
And it's probably less intrusive. You could say no parking from here to the corner.
That's exactly
Rather than
right.
like markings every.
Yeah,
feet,
and
you know?
Yeah, that's
residents will, I think they'll grasp that
Yeah.
quicker
Yeah.
than with the markings.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean,
No parking from here to corner is the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if we mark.
but I mean, if
talk
you do
about
the
marking,
markings, you're
Correct,
gonna do.
it'll be
I
signage.
think George or you or Jane said the DOT specs, the markers wouldn't.
No, that's correct, it has to be signage, the DOT standard is a signage.
All right,
So
so
it'll be at every,
intersection.
so it'll be on 4 corners, yes?
So
Mhm.
everybody's in agreement, the entire village, so we just have to renotice if that's what you
Yeah.
guys want to do.
Reschedule the public hearing.
I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Well, just for me to put my 2 cents in,
We forget about
Thank,
that.
thank you for
Okay.
jumping in because I forget
Okay.
that you're there.
I-
I'm
I
sorry.
agree with Anthony, because if we're gonna do it, let's do it once and be done with it and move forward. And if we need signs for it, we need to do signs.
I agree.
And just to clarify, do we want 20 feet or 30 feet? So, because this is gonna,
Bob,
Yeah,
how
they
about a little
noticed.
help on that? 20 feet or 30 feet?
Well, I know we originally talked about 30 feet, but I think 20 feet will probably suffice, because it's gonna be on both sides of the street where that should give plenty of room for the vehicles to make their turns.
Yeah, I think,
Well, the fire chief is here, it's 20 feet for the fire department too, is 20 feet enough?
I like trustee Cascati. 30 feet is decent on the corners, especially on First Street coming around. You know, it's tight getting in that corner, especially with the front. I like 30, but I think 30 is a good start. 30 is not as much as you think it is. It's really not. but it
3
is-
car
it-
lengths, right?
Yeah, it is, I mean, if they had to swing one of their big, their engine in there or something like that, It just makes it easier for them just to
So
come
do
right
30.
in with no.
So do 30.
30.
Do
It's better
30.
than 30, and then you go always bring it down, and you have to renotice.
Okay.
Yeah,
30.
30. Okay. So that'll be at the March meeting.
Yep.
And we'll get everything else.
The public hearing.
Yeah, the public hearing, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So I just have a few things for the board. So I know we got into a discussion last time about reports. So I'm just going to put it out to the board. And it's up to you about doing the report. So, you know, the highway, the sewer treatment plant. Is that something you're not interested in doing? Like, you know, it's okay. I mean, it's up to you. If you guys want to read the reports, I'm okay with that either way. Or if you think it's, you know, not valuable to the residents,
I
then,
think it is.
okay. So
mean, I'm
why are you
just-
giving me a hard time?
Because it was, I was just talking about the amount of garbage.
Oh, yeah.
The
yeah.
tonnage
okay.
of leaves and this and that. I mean,
Well, you
the
can read what
reports
you
are
want.
good. No, I think that there's like with this, the part of the report that Scott gives us, what actually was completed, projects that were completed. I think that's important for residents to see. But the amount of TV monitors, I'm not really sure if everybody gives a, you know what I'm talking about. So that's all.
Just pick out what you think is.
Well, it's
interesting.
important that the community knows what the DPW is up to and what they've completed and all their tasks that they're going to achieve. But I'm not so certain they want to know how many TV monitors you threw away.
Well, if you do, then you have to ask.
That's what I said. Just email me. I'll let you know.
One thing we skipped doing, and when the paving was being done would have been the most opportune time. And, our highway foreman Scott Horton is here. We've had a plaque and we were trying to decide out at the circle where to replace that plaque. So we thought about going around the circle where the clock was, but I don't think it's going to fit there. So I think we need to look at putting it on the big wall there, that plaque for the people who donated for the clock. You know, Entergy donated several of the residents. So we need to really reinstall that clock again. But we just have to find the appropriate place. It's pretty big, that plaque. It's pretty big. And maybe we can install it into the wall. I don't know. Whatever your thoughts are, Scoot.
Put a monument up on top, you know, or
You
something.
could.
Monument.
Put it on a stand or something.
Put it on a monument.
Behind the tree. I don't know, block the tree. You can put it behind the tree.
Yeah.
On the side
Yeah,
of the
because we
tree.
got plenty of room in the back area there too.
Well, I do believe that when they built that wall, that they put a couple of bigger stones there to install those plaques.
That is true. Yeah, they're bigger, larger, flatter stones. I mean, I just like to look at that so that in the spring that can get finalized. And then with the clock, that's true. If it goes up behind the tree,
Let's see it.
yeah, it'll kind of get lost up there. Okay, all right, I think that's all I have for now. And then the other thing I want to ask, I don't want to put the board on the spot, but, so when it comes time to the board reports and things like that, do you guys want to get addressed individually like we've been doing, or do you just want to like speak and, if you have something to add that evening? Or do you want to continue doing the same way, or do you want to just leave it where if you have something to say that evening, then you can speak up under the trustee reports?
I just speak up on the trustee reports. Just
Okay.
keep doing it the way you're doing. That's my feeling.
Okay,
I agree.
just wanted some direction on that. Okay, so trustee reports. Anybody have anything for this evening?
I do.
Okay.
So I spoke to the Recreation Committee, and they wanted me to share that they filled out the survey, they sent it to the residents, they took the data from the residents, compiled it, and made a presentation in front of the board and in front of the residents. And at this point, they've provided advisement, and unless the board or Jacqueline has any needs for them to advise them on, the work is done. So there's no need for us to meet since we're just an advisory committee.
Okay.
And my work still continues with the schools, supporting the students and the adults who need to learn English as a second language.
I just had one item. The
Sure.
Buchanan St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee is meeting Thursday night at the Buchanan Firehouse again at 7 p.m. Anybody that wants to step up and volunteer, we'd be more than happy to have you. So, and the parade is scheduled for the 16th of March at 2 p.m. So,
Bob, I'm going to go to you so I don't forget you.
I don't have anything, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Anthony, what do you have?
Wilda, so you're not, let me get this right. You're not on the recreation committee anymore? We're just gonna advise them? They're gonna come to us?
No. We are still a committee.
Yeah.
However, we were just told to provide advisement.
Okay,
We did the survey and shared what our thoughts were, where we felt the need was. Now our work is done. So we would need for the board to say, all right, so for the pool, we're going to have discussions on the pool. We would like to see the rec committee here and they would come and provide their opinions and ideas about it. But we're not a committee that actually carries out a project. That's not what we were told to do.
no, I get that.
Okay? And
No, I just wanna
Jacqueline
know how we
knows
were gonna
also.
Communicate between us and the rec committee, and we were going, like, because that's exactly what I was getting,
Email me.
was the pool.
Yeah,
Like, you know, if they have ideas, they're gonna
Mhm.
come to us with their ideas. and
Absolutely.
We are gonna discuss it and bring it to the public, so
absolutely.
everybody knows. That's all I just.
So whatever the board needs or Jacqueline, and I spoke to Jacqueline, just email me and I will definitely share the information with the committee and we will come forward and see what we can do to support.
Mm-hmm. All right, no, I was just, and as far as the reports,
Okay.
I don't mind reading the report.
Okay.
I find it that, like I said, Scoot and the DPW tasks should be brought to the public and should be, appreciated by everybody in the community. And I think I get that opportunity to do that when I do the report. And I'm happy to keep doing it.
Okay, good. Good. I just wanted some clarification. That's,
You just didn't want to talk about the tons of garbage, right?
Yeah.
That were being taken care of.
I just didn't know if anybody really cared about any of that. I was just,
with the recreation committee, I would like to, in the next couple months, set up a meeting with them to discuss. We've touched on it a little bit. Looking at the playground behind the highway department and events going forward, what their thoughts are, what their ideas are. So, to be continued. Stephanie, anything for us?
I'm understanding from talking with you, we're going to talk about the dog control issue and certainty at the next meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
then I don't have anything tonight. Thanks.
Okay. Marcus, what do you?
Just two quick things. The fire department's here. We're starting the point structure again. So with probably the next meeting, you're gonna get their points for their review and approval. So that's just a thing we do every year. I sent everybody an email, but I want the public to know as well, but we had a big discussion. The salt shed was damaged.
Mhm.
The guy, they delivered the last delivery of salt. The guy pulled the truck out with the back still up and pulled the salt shed. So we've notified his insurance. We're in the middle of, we filed a claim with his insurance, It took me a while to get the right person. We got the accident report. I got the name. I reached out, they bounced me around a little bit, but I finally got to the claims adjuster for the insurance policy, gave him how much it cost. The good thing is, there's no depreciation because we just bought that new cover. So I gave him the information, sent the pictures of it. The salt shed is still standing, just got pulled and bent all the rods, but it's still up. If you
Yeah,
take a
I went
look at
down
it,
and looked at it.
you'll see it's pulled. But I just wanted to know if everybody sees it, we filed a claim with their insurance company and hopefully we'll get that resolved. We'll get a brand new salt cover again and we'll replace it. So.
What is the cost on that? What was the estimate?
Cindy, do you remember?
Scoot?
Scott, do you remember what the salt cover was?
I think it's a little over $7,000.
Yeah,
Whoa.
$7,000 to $8,000.
We
Yeah.
did some damage.
Yeah.
It's a liability claim anyway, and they can't depreciate.
Correct. Oh, okay, that's good to know. But a
Wow.
lot of times you got, okay, and it just happened we just got a couple months ago, so.
After all that work, the guys putting
Yeah.
the salt shed up.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
shame.
just want to let you guys know what's going on that. So that's the update I wanted to give you. Thank you.
Oh, any comments from the floor? Eileen, good to see you again. Yes, sir.
Mayor, thank you. Just an update from the last board meeting.
Just state your name and, yeah.
Fire Chief Bob Outhouse, Buchanan
Okay.
Engine Company. Just an update to the board. The rescue truck was sold 2 weeks ago. They picked it up. I know there's a question of taking the lettering off. The company that we sold the truck through came down and took it off for nothing. This Thursday, the 1991 pumper is scheduled to leave to go to New Jersey, so we're getting another check for that. And the arrival of the new engine should be Friday.
Great.
It'll probably take a few days to get the equipment on from the floor into the truck, get the driver's point to the truck. So hopefully, by the beginning of next week, engine 162 will be fully in service.
Good. So we'll see the new engine out with the firemen testing it out.
Yep.
Cool.
And an update, as you were talking about Crest grants tonight, it's been probably about an 18-month ordeal with Senator Harpham going through DASNY. We were finally granted the paperwork. Money is available, and $50,000 worth of fireground radios were awarded.
Great. That's good news.
We'll see them in about 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, that long to get those radios.
That one. So that's the update. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bob. Whew. Okay. If there are no more comments, I am going to make a motion to go into executive session for negotiation and personnel. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
thank you, everyone, for coming,
Thank you.
and have a great Buchanan Day.